Warning: while this video doesn't contain major reveals, I will be going into minor plot details to back up my points. If you don't wish to see anything, please cover your ears, but enjoy the visuals anyway. Here's the part where I have to come up with something to say that's somehow different from what everyone's already said, and it doesn't help that I'm already late on this review. Even though this movie should be generally considered a success, I've seen a wide range of opinions going on, from it being the savior of the DC universe to a piece of garbage that doesn't understand itself as much as the Minecraft movie. So really, there's no hot takes to be had. One of the few elements that's been met with resounding success, however, is Mr. Terrific, a character who I'd certainly never heard of before, and one so goofy it'd only be James Gunn who brings him to the big screen. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Terrific is considered the third smartest man in the world, someone who displayed remarkable intelligence from a young age. While he doesn't have any superpowers proper, his T-spheres make him invisible to technology and aid him in combat. Before he began his career as a superhero, he already possessed 14 PhDs, including assorted doctorates and masters and degrees in law, psychology, chemistry, political science, computer science, rocket science, and mathematics. He was a self-made multimillionaire with a high-tech firm called Cyberware and was a gold medal-winning Olympic decathlete. While contemplating suicide after the death of his mentally handicapped older brother and accidental death of his wife and unborn child, he was met by the spirit of God's vengeance, known as the Spectre, who told him about Terry Sloan, a Golden Age superhero known as Mr. Terrific. Inspired by Sloan's life story, he took the name Mr. Terrific and later joined the current Justice Society of America, eventually serving as its chairman. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathegi, had a larger role in this movie than I expected, but he also outshined the role he had. He was deadpan in all the right moments, played well off the humor of other characters, and filled a nice B-plot action role that frankly held greater weight than anything with Superman himself. Obviously, you know what scene's the best if you've seen the movie. Another shining member of the ensemble is Rachel Brosnahan, who delivers on a character perfectly in her wheelhouse and executes with ease. I lamented in an earlier review this year that she wasn't put in a position to succeed, taking her fiery personality and forcing her to be more docile and plain in The Amateur. This movie plays to her strengths, allowing her to display her charisma in dialogue-heavy moments, which she does so well. A moment in the beginning of the film is especially palpable, in which she and Corn Sweat get into an exclusive interview with Superman. This is where the movie's shining the most, where they can dabble into the ethics of Superman using hopped-up quippy dialogue that Gunn is so good at bringing out of his characters. Scenes like these gave me a positive first impression, and forced me to appreciate what I was seeing more than I expected. At least in the beginning, anyway. Because while there was so much excellent setup, the middle of the film had a series of shallow concepts and reveals that left the ending a little plain and without much substance I could chew on. A few of the setups I enjoyed. I loved his obsession with saving lives. In an almost 180-degree directional change from the Snyder interpretation, this Superman's entire role in every scene he's in is to save as many lives as possible. Now, I have a lot of problems with Man of Steel, a lot of problems, but I thought it would be interesting, thematically, to put Clark in a position where it wouldn't be possible to save everyone. I was nervous going into this movie that it would just be a dumbed-down version of the concept. It was, kind of. I mean, this movie isn't Shakespeare or anything like that. But Gunn shifted so far in the other direction that it made for lovely action at the beginning of the film. A kaiju fight specifically comes to mind as my favorite. Superman also has that Raimi Spider-Man effect where he actually interacts with the citizens he's saving more than a few times. It humanized him and made it so that his saving the city moments actually had some stakes to them. I was nervous about the interpretation of Superman and I was dead wrong. Easily one of the greatest parts. I was also a fan of the political elements of the film, and while it's not like it did a super deep dive, that Ukraine-Palestine allegory was there and it was strong. Stronger than I thought it'd be. More relevant than I thought it'd be. More clear-cut than I thought it'd be. There's very few movies in the modern day of this size which would take a gamble like that, and it paid off for Superman big time. There was a time where I struggled to understand what made these goofy two-shoes characters interesting, but it's clear Gunn understands how to do it. Superman was put in a position where the world was against him, and yet he knew the right thing to do. It's hard to fight the world, especially when you only want what's best for them. This conflict was well realized and gave the movie a better backbone than I expected. But as the film went along, it got bogged down by superhero tropes that felt uninspired, with conflicts that didn't have interesting descent. It boiled down to punching for the sake of punching, and left a lot to be desired. In large part, this is due to Luther, and while I think Nicholas Hoult gave a fun interpretation of the role, it came at the expense of the overall narrative. Lex was funny at times, like, for real, he was funny. But I feel like Gunn missed an opportunity to make him seriously thematically relevant in favor of a more generic, throw your head back in laughter, over-the-top villain. Really quickly, I'd like to break down what makes Lex interesting. Superman is a pretty powerful guy, right? Maybe the most powerful in the world. But Lex is everything he can't stop with just his fists. He is intelligent, corrupt, able to manipulate the world without fighting, and represents a shift in the way modern power operates. It doesn't matter how powerful Superman is, there's no getting around what Lex brings to the table. But every modern iteration of Superman seems to want him as a physical threat. I know he wasn't technically one here, but he was practically used as one by proxy. Again, in the beginning of the film, I loved the direction they went with him. I just felt like the story regressed as it went along. And certainly my least favorite part of the film had to be Ultraman. He was like nothing. He was like blah. Virtually a threat I've seen from just about every modern superhero movie, and I'm so tired of seeing it on screen. He was actually kind of funny before the reveal, but I lost interest in everything going on with him because it felt creatively bankrupt and brought the story momentum to a halt. I wish it were a smaller gripe too, but he's so instrumental to the conclusion that I couldn't really get over it. I thought the dog was a fun little catch though. It was cute, and I could tell it was something Gunn put in there personally. Was he in it too much? Maybe. I kinda thought he possibly was. And usually I'm a big dog guy, but it makes for some pretty basic storytelling and character growth if you're gonna stick to the dog angle. It's a cute dog though. It is a cute dog. And of course the rest of the Daily Planet makes an appearance, which I love. I think any good Superman movie highlights the fact that he's a journalist. Actually, if I had a chance to make a Superman movie, I swear to God, you guys wouldn't believe how much of it would be a normal journalistic procedural. But obviously that wouldn't make the big bucks, so I'm glad they included it more than they have in a while. They were a little undercooked, but I like the cast of characters and figure they're gonna do more with them later. I love the actor who plays Jimmy Olsen, Skylar Gisondo. I will never forget his role in Booksmart, and I think he was one of the funniest people I've ever seen. He was slightly miscast here, I'm devastated to say, or at least the role wasn't quite right for anyone. The joke of him landing all these beautiful women but not liking it felt a little awkward because they didn't fully go for it. They were just kind of stuck halfway there. Many of the jokes in the movie do land though, and I'd say the humor is one of its greatest strengths. A particular scene with some monkeys I thought was hilarious, and little things like forcing someone to turn off the lights was really good. I don't know why I didn't see that coming, because James Gunn is always fucking hilarious. This is probably one of his least funny movies, and it's a really funny movie. I mean, if you're looking to go to the theater for a simple laugh and an afternoon ice cream, you're in for a real treat with this one. But like I said, there's a lot of enjoyable setups to this movie where even if it didn't stick the landing, it still left a lot of interesting ideas that would be a good night out with some friends. I don't see it as something that'll stick with me, but it had lovable performances and cheeky dialogue that kept the story engaging even when I wasn't all the way with it. I have reservations about a sequel, but this is a step in the right direction, as long as not every DC Universe movie tries to copy this style. Also, for the love of God, give me a better villain. Please. I love Nicholas Hoult. This was not on him. And for the record, I do appreciate how much of a hater he was. As a hater myself, I found that quite compelling. I'll give this movie a crush, cause this movie makes me want to crush a Modelo and help out my neighbor. One last thing though, the Justice Gang was a little more lame than I expected, even though they had an odd joke to make me laugh. Hawk Girl had one recurring bit that made me laugh every time, but that's just the kind of humor I have. Weird noises make me laugh, you know? Sue me. And while I love to see Nathan Fillion, he basically had a pretty basic part. If you watch the review and you like this review, go ahead and give someone you know a high five for me. Bake your friend a pie. Call your mom.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
This Superman is a way better influence on children than the old one. Being weird and angsty is out, and helping your community is way in. So help your local community by liking and subscribing, and shoot me a comment if you think of something interesting that I didn't mention. Honestly, there's so many things I didn't mention. There's so many good reasons to disagree with me. But for those of you who are just lurking and watching, I wish you a solid 8 hours of sleep, and I'll catch you on the next video.